So when I'm not in my office, which is literally in the other room, what am I doing? I'm basically moving from my office to here, going out, feeding the chickens and stuff. And this is what I spend my time doing is watching Norm uh, Chomsky in his Requiem of the American Dream, the death of the American Dream, which I realized in 2004 when I left the American Dream, when I had a job offer on Wall Street to move to Japan. I was done. I had, I had been through it. I had lived the life. I was a ad executive for was one of the top sales guys for a company. Had the beautiful girlfriend, had the Mercedes, lived on Marlborough Street right by the garden. I had it all, right? And then I lost it all with our breakup. And and the moment I stopped making that money, she left me because I wasn't fitting into that American dream anymore. So I moved to New York, and uh, and then I saw myself basically going into the same track again. And I said the only way to break that track is to leave it, and I left it for Japan.
International plutonomy, as the banks like to call it, but a small percentage of the world's population that's gathering increasing wealth. What happens to American consumers is much less concern, because most of them aren't going to be consuming your products anyway, at least on a major basis. Your goals are profit in the next quarter, even if it's based on financial manipulations, uh, high salary, high bonuses, produce overseas if you have to, and produce for the wealthy classes here and their counterparts abroad. What about the rest? Well, there's a term coming into use for them too. They're called the precariat, precarious proletariat, the working people of the world who live increasingly precarious lives. And it's related to the attitude toward the country altogether.
What Norm is talking about here is basically we have runaway train of exponential growth for a very small group of people, these Plutarchs. And there's a great video, kind of the inequality of wealth in America, but basically like 0.1%, just a tenth of those, of the 1%, have literally most of all the wealth, like 40% of all the wealth in America, something ridiculous like that. And it's happening again because they've learned how to game the model. This, this startup business model is a game where they put capital in. There's an equation called compounded annual growth rate, CAGR, and they know, you know, when to keep it in and when to take it out, right? And they're the ones who are getting richer and richer, richer off the startups, and all the wealth now comes from this new area, and everyone else is suffering as and becoming basically threatened. And this isn't going to end. This is only going to end when either we basically pick up and take out our guns or pitchforks like the French Revolution, or something else happens, and that is foundups. A new business model is launched in parallel on the blockchain and replaces the old one.
You started getting a huge increase in the flows of speculative capital, just astronomically increased. Enormous changes in the financial sector, from traditional banks to risky investments, complex financial instruments, money manipulations, and so on. Increasingly, the business of the country isn't production, at least not here. The primary business here is business. You can even see it in the choice of directors. So a director of a major American corporation back in the 50s and the 60s was very likely to be an engineer, somebody who graduated from a place like MIT, maybe industrial management. more recently, the directorship and the top managerial positions are people who came out of business schools, learned financial trickery of various kinds, and so on. By the 1970s, say General Electric could make more profit playing games with money than you could by producing in the United States. You have to remember that General Electric is substantially a financial institution today. It makes half its profits just by moving money around in complicated ways. And it's very unclear that they're doing anything that's of value to the economy. So that's one phenomenon, what's called financialization of the economy.
Is the game of production of money. Now, there's a problem with the game is that they have, it's like playing Monopoly. Have you ever played Monopoly and then some person basically takes all the money? It's like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Everyone owes you money. Everyone's in debt. There's no way for you to get out of it, right? And there's really no point in playing. Well, guess what, guys? That's what we have in our global economy right now. The amount of debt that all these countries own and everything else is, the monopoly game is over and it's going to break anytime now. They know it. So what are they doing? And this is what Norm doesn't understand, is they're moving into a new space, which is the blockchain. Now, this blockchain only started to come about in 2014, and really last year they started dabbling in it. And Bitcoin laid the foundation. Remember when Bitcoin came out, everyone talked about like the feds are going to close it down and everything else. Well, FinTech said, no, 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 Mr. Fed. No, no, no. There is lots of gameplay. We can game this system. We can make a shit ton of money. So all these FinTech conferences out there, right, which we're going to become very loud, called the unFinTech conferences, they're basically gaming the system. And what Norm doesn't realize is there's this huge, huge opportunity for these fuckers to make even more money. And what they've done, and this is what I get up to other posts, is Ethereum is the first of many, many blockchains with smart contracts that they can manipulate. And what Merrill Lynch has done is they have basically taken over the Ethereum Foundation, and you can call it the cartel because the cartels, all these other special interest groups, the Chinese wealthy elites are involved. It's all these fintech folks are all kind of now basically have hard-ons for Vitalik. They want to fuck him in the ass. They want to just have their way with him. They're in love with him, and they cannot get enough of him. So the only opportunity we have, and this is my whole point with ETC, is that we have an opportunity here because they, out of greed, wanted to get their money back, and they have created a branch, right, and it's the original branch, which is the beautiful thing. So even though we're set back now, the opportunity is let them mess around with Ethereum, where we actually develop Classic into Core, and Core will replace everything else. And the instruments that we develop, it's called foundups, which is a decentralized business model for empowering the collaborative economy, right? That removes the special interest, that puts these capitals back into fixing the problems of our planet, not into the pockets for them to basically buy, ships and islands and just live ridiculous lives, and and they're so obsessed with this endeavor that they've lost sight of the reality of, we live on a little blue planet out in nowhere, and it only has so much stuff on it, and you can never make so much stuff on it. So the idea of this churning Goliath, it is, just churning out money, consuming, is the snake. It's the Arabola, right? It's the snake eating itself.
50s and 60s, say, there was the biggest growth period in American economic history. The Golden Age. it was pretty egalitarian growth, so the lowest fifth of the population was improving about as much as the upper fifth. And there were some welfare state measures which improved life for much of the population. It was, for example, possible for a black worker to get a decent job in an auto plant, buy a home, get a car. Popularity is quite dangerous. And from the point of view of the masters, you're only supposed to care about yourself and not about other people. This is quite different from the people they claim are their heroes, like Adam Smith, who based his whole approach to the economy on the principle that sympathy is a fundamental human trait. But that has to be driven out of people's heads. You got to be for yourself, follow the Weil maxim, don't care about others, which is okay for the rich and powerful, but is devastating for everyone else.
So basically, how does Founda bring that back that he just described, right? Well, because unlike the current model, which is all about take for the benefit of the few, Founda's model is all about putting it back into the system for healing our planet through launching more foundups. Remember, foundups are ideas for helping our planet. So the net profits and capital gains in our system automatically goes back into the system that anyone can access, and that our archangels, who are people who've gone through the system and been successful, can ultimately unlock these different things. So we would completely bring back the system that there used to be, and not only that, we'd bring it back on 1,000 times more. Foundups would create a utopia, or I call the empathic civilization. It will create a world where power is free, because we would basically invest in solar power, and to the point where that it would be free. It would be a place where food production would be free, and people would be doing pay it forward, and you'd be giving the food produced because it's been paid for already in advance by corporations who are saying, what are we doing with our net profits? And an individual saying, you know what, I want everyone to eat for free. Because people, when they're empowered and they're given, and it's been proven in research, that when you give people the ability to give, they will. When you solve their basic human needs, the hierarchy of needs, they start being philanthropic. And ultimately what we're doing is creating a distributed philanthropic global network that will turn around and help the entire planet. It'll save it. And that's the beauty of foundups. You can read my white paper, endingtheselfishstartup.com. So it's not ending, it's theselfishstartup.com, before it ends us.